Hi, I'm Dick Brennan, and welcome to Exit 1055. As state lawmakers scramble to put together a new budget by the April 1st deadline, Long Island educators say that once again, schools and students are being shortchanged. Now, joining us now is David Feller. He's the president of the Nassau County Council of School Superintendents, and he's also the superintendent of schools in North Merrick. Welcome to the show, Mr. Feller. Have to ask you, they're still scrambling in Albany. The budget is coming together. We don't know the precise numbers. But why do you feel Nassau County will be shortchanged?
Well, unfortunately, Nassau County historically has been shortchanged. We have about 17% of the students, and historically we've received only 12% back in state aid. Plus, I believe that Nassau County has been unfairly painted as a very high wealth area, which really isn't true when you take into account cost of living factors, regional costs. And there are many, many students on Long Island who are living in school districts that are actually below the state average in poverty. And in terms of Commonwealth ratio, about 44% of the students on Long Island are actually in school districts where the average wealth ratio is below 1, which is considered the state average. So this has been a concern.
But you realize that state lawmakers, other parts of the state in Buffalo say, hey, you know, this still is Nassau County. You have a lot of wealth in Nassau County, albeit there are some parts that perhaps are poor.
Well, Long Island is one part of the state, and clearly there are only 9 state senators on Long Island who are combating other regions in the area. It's all a competition. And what may have been true perhaps 20 or 30 years ago is less true now. For instance, over the last 11 years, Long Island used to be about 30% above state average in income. Right now it's about 11% over the average. So there's been a decline over time. Plus, the Long Island economy, in comparison to the rest of the state, actually hasn't been doing as well.
All right, are you worried about, what are you worried about here? Layoffs, possibly? Teacher layoffs?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that as a Long Island superintendent, I'm extremely proud of the high-quality education that we've provided on Long Island. If Long Island were a separate state, we actually would be ranked first in the percentage of students who graduate high school. We have the highest percentage of high schools that are in the Newsweek top 1,000 schools. So the quality of education here has been just amazing. But in terms of my concern with the way state aid has been structured and the way that state aid has been eliminated over time, or at least reduced, it looks as if many districts have been forced to reduce forces, reduce programs, and my concern is that may continue unless the situation is rectified.
All right, I got to ask you about Common Core because there's so much controversy about that. Parents are saying this week, hey, I want to opt out. Are there any repercussions for parents who want to opt out of these standardized tests?
Well, I guess a lot depends upon what grade level you're talking about. Clearly, students cannot opt out of high school Regents examinations. These have a bearing on whether or not students will graduate, and you don't see an opt-out movement at that level. Where you see a greater percent of opt-outs would be in grades 3 through 8. And I think it's unfortunate that parents feel a need to opt out, but many feel frustrated that they haven't been listened to. The way the state rolled out the Common Core implementation and the way the testing was rolled out immediately without students and teachers having sufficient time to get used to it.
But can they opt out, quote unquote, legally? Are they violating a policy? What would happen? What are the repercussions?
Well, legally, there's no such thing as an opt-out.
Right.
What parents have been looking at is that in the test manual, there is an indicator if a child refuses to take a test. And parents have been taking that and writing to schools saying that my child will refuse to take the test based upon this provision. Has there been any repercussion to schools? Currently, no, but there is a chance that federal funding can be impacted, Title I funding. I'll give you my school district, for instance, as an example. We just received notification that we're receiving $150,000 in what's called a reward grant over a 2-year period, and it was solely based upon our student results on state testing. Had we not had a sufficient participation rate in those 2 years, our school district wouldn't have been able to qualify for that grant. So it could have a repercussion.
It could. Mr. Feller, thank you for coming in. To be continued, that's the best way we can put this. David Feller, the head of the Nassau County Council of School Superintendents, thanks for stopping in. In other education news, keeping our kids